Welcome to the Kings Beat podcast. I am James Ham, your Kings Insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. Joining me, Fox 40, Sean Cunningham. Sean, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well with my allergies. My voice is sounding a little weird. My eyes,
Deep.
man. I can't. Yeah, my eyes are watery. So that Fox 40, I'm going to see if I can do it. Fox 40. I can't even do it. It hurts. But yeah, man. Just battling some allergies. But I'm not Brendan. Where's Brendan?
Where's Brendan? Brendan is out due to a non-COVID related illness.
Okay.
We'll use King's terms. He missed Tuesday for a personal reason. Today was the last 2 days he's actually been sick. Part of the reason why we didn't go yesterday, just as the Kings picked up their crazy 46th win of the season. We'll get to that in a minute. Sean, do you use anything for your eyes?
Well, so usually I'm okay. Like I do have like a constant little bit of a dry eye kind of thing, but Zyrtec, which you don't put in your eyes, you just take for an allergy, works great. Like that for me anyway. It's fantastic. But I think when they say you go on it, you take one like every day for like 2 weeks or whatever, and you get acclimated to it or something like that. But
Yeah.
once you're settled, you basically take one. I only have to take one like once a week, maybe twice a week or something like that. And ordinarily it's good, but sometimes throughout the year I'll wake up and I won't have a voice. So
Interesting.
luckily
Yeah,
I've got just a deeper voice. I sound like Barry White, like a
Yeah,
really
you can drop
awful
it
version
down.
of Barry White.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
I use Zatador for my eyes. I think that's what it's called. It's like a little.
Zatador?
It's a little over-the-counter anti-allergy eye drop. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they don't sponsor the podcast. I'm just telling you because it's that time of the year. And like it's the outside it's confused. Like I got trees in bloom and snow in the same week. I mean,
Weird.
we're almost to April, and I mean it could snow again. Like I don't.
Did the
even know
snow
what's
did
happening.
the snow melt off? Did it melt off? I know it's been cold still.
Oh yeah, no, the snow was here and it was gone by the end of the evening. Yeah, yeah. That's typically how it goes here where I'm at. I'm at like 1,800 feet of elevation. So the snow rolls in, and then the other day it was weird. It was 42 degrees and just snowing everywhere while we were on the pod. And then it was gone by late evening. So yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's get to the basics. If you're listening and you don't mind, can you give us a rating review, whatever platform that you're listening on? If you're watching on the YouTube, if you don't mind giving us a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Subscribe to the Kings Beat. We're growing like absolutely bonkers. It's been a lot of fun to watch the growth over the last, particularly like the last 6 weeks, been absolutely crazy. So jump on board with the Kings Beat. Go to thekingsbeat.com. And for those of you who haven't noticed, we have a comment section now on thekingsbeat.com. So you can comment on articles and talk trash and all that stuff there if you'd like. I don't know. Maybe I won't ever moderate it. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's new to Beehive. They just added the comment section. So now you can comment on articles like the podcast that we're in right now. Sean, the Sacramento Kings are going to the playoffs. First time in 16 seasons, 17 years. Just what are your first thoughts?
Yeah, they finally clinched. It's a little. Well, I'm super excited for the fans because good for them, man. I mean, this city has some real ones, man. They really do. The organization, even for people who have moved away from the city, being able to celebrate. I've seen a lot of really cool celebratory moments, and yeah, I think we talked about it. Like most people had wrapped their head around the fact that this is a playoff team realistically for the past 2 months, but to finally get that game to clinch and make it become real is they put a ring on it, right? Like they made it official, So they have relationship plans for the playoffs, so they're in. And yeah, it's just a wonderful moment for fans and people within that organization that have been here for so long. It's really great for them. Some media have kind of made it a little self-indulging and about themselves a little bit, but I digress. Everyone celebrates in funny ways, and there's it's one of the unique things about this team is there's a lot of people who grew up fans of the organization and can't set that aside when they cover the team. So maybe it's 16 years, it has a funny way of doing it for you, but yeah, when half the league's teams make the playoffs, and you haven't been able to do that for 16 seasons, 17 years, when you finally punch that ticket, it's going to have a funny feeling on people. So, yeah, don't let this team win in the playoffs or get to the Western Conference Finals again, or dare I say an NBA Finals, because people might absolutely lose their minds.
Yeah, they could, definitely freak out a bit. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. Like, someone tweeted at me asked if I cried, and I was like, no. I don't even think I responded to him, but no, I mean, I think that the buildup to this has just been kind of like, okay, it's happening, and it's cool, and I think it would have been emotional, like in the building on Monday. That would have been interesting to watch, but it didn't happen, and so by the time it did happen, it was almost kind of like, all right, well, we've been waiting for this, and there's no way that they're going to lose 7 straight and have every other single thing go wrong that has to go wrong. And so I thought it was a bit anticlimactic, especially when you drub somebody 120-80 and they don't even show up. And then, the Kings play Portland again tonight, and it's crazy what they're doing there. Like,
what are they, like 12 guys?
10 guys on the injury report.
Oh, Jesus.
10.
Yeah.
And so that means with their two-way players, there's potential for them to only have 7 players in uniform tonight. Like, it's just wild. They even have an injury, like, hardship replacement that they brought in, like a dude off the street who just, who played the other night. I don't even remember who it was, but let me see if I can pick him out of a lineup here.
I don't think even Portland people know who he is.
Was it Jabari Walker?
I don't think that
and
was
it's not John Butler is their two-way. Trenton Watford may or may not play tonight. Ryan Archian,
Arcidiacono?
Arcidiacono. Yeah, there we go. He will not play tonight. It doesn't look like.
Oh.
And I not to be mean, but Drew Eubanks in the NBA still is a surprise to me. I don't understand how he's in the NBA.
Well, I mean, I remember it happened to the Kings not long ago. There was a time where they had 7 players and they had to finish out the season, and this is the the teams will do what's in the best interest for themselves in the draft and what's ahead, and they're doing it with they're under 10 games to go, and yeah, it kind of sucks because the ticket prices don't really. You still have to. The ticket prices are still there, and people go and buy them, but kind of reminds you of baseball in a way, even though you still see some of the stars. But it's time to do all the September call-ups and see what's available.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally where we're at. I mean, this what Portland is doing is wild, and they're clearly not going to make the postseason, and they should have probably pulled the plug a little earlier than they did. And now they're in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and I'm just to look. Let's see. I know the Hornets and the Pistons in the East are below them, and the Spurs and the Rockets. Yeah, the Blazers are tied for the 5th/6th most opportunities. They're tied with Orlando for to move up in the draft. That's a pretty good spot.
That's a great spot to be in. And what seems to be a very loaded draft. I mean, a lot of talent in this draft that, especially top heavy, as some of them tend to be. But talking to some people just around the league over the past week, like there's a lot of hope, even with people lower in the projections, low first round, and let's say it's probably a good reason why you saw even people garnering all these second round picks too, as well. For future, because I think they think that there's talent to be had in untapped places, and it'll be fun to see how it all shakes out.
Guess where the Kings are right now? If they were to end right now, and this is where their draft spot would be.
23?
24.
4. Okay.
Yeah, 24. I know a lot of people keep asking, hey, do you think the Kings can go get Chris Murray? And I'll just keep telling you, Chris Murray won't make it to the Kings. Like, unless something weird happens here, he won't make it to the Kings. Sean, we're at this point, too, where the Kings have almost secured the number 3 spot. I think they still need 2 wins to secure the Pacific Division. And let me see. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so what's the record?
They're 46 wins.
46
30?
and 30. So, no, they're 5 games up on the Suns with 6 games to go. So there is still potential after tonight that because the Suns and then like the tiebreaker isn't like guaranteed at this point. So you're probably going to have to wait another night before you clinch the Pacific. But I was looking at it. We got the Warriors as a 6 seed right now, and they're I want to say 6.5 behind the Kings. But the Warriors have this crazy thing that 6 teams are within 2 games of them, higher and lower. So you got the Suns and the Clippers above them. You've got the Pelicans a game behind them, the Timberwolves a game behind them, the Lakers a game and a half, OKC 2 games, and even Dallas at 3 games behind the Warriors. Where do you think this is going to go? Who do you think that they're going to face here?
Yeah, I mean, logic would say the Warriors, because it seems like more times than not, we're looking at number 6, and Golden State is just kind of pigeonholed right in there. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just my belief that the Warriors are going to just flip a switch and close out strong, because that's what they do. But obviously, not this season. They don't. They're so terrible on the road. But I just don't feel like it's going to be the Warriors. It's never happened before where the Kings and the Warriors have met in the postseason. So
they've never been in the playoffs in the same season.
Yeah, how about that? Never in the same. That is just
in 38
crazy.
Years. 38 years, Sean.
We might be crossing the streams here if that happens, you know?
Brendan, if you're out there, crossing the streams is from, of course, Ghostbusters.
That's like our second or third Ghostbuster reference in as many podcasts, I think. But
yeah, we did have the back-to-back, when I said something inappropriate.
Yeah, it was great, though.
Yeah.
So, no, I kind of think it's going to be the Clippers, the Timberwolves. I don't think the Lakers are going to be able to escape the play-in tournament. I think that's where they're going to be headed. So, however that looks. But I do agree with you. I don't think the Kings are going to be able to catch the Grizzlies, even though they're only 2 back. I just think the Grizzlies are, I've said it all year. They've showed me something in this time without Ja Morant. They still continue to find ways to win. Even without Steven Adams, they lose Brandon Clark. We've talked about that. They're gritty, man. They just find ways to do it. And now that Ja Morant's back, and they look like they haven't missed a beat. They've won 8 of their last 10. So I just don't feel any slippage will be there. They're still 3 back of Denver for number 1 in the West. So I think number 3 is where the Kings will reside. I think the Pacific Division obviously is going to be clinched. That's just a matter of time. And however things shape out below, I think the Kings will be ready to go and hopefully finish strong, hopefully find some rest at the same time. And if they, kind of stumble a little bit, I'm not too worried. I like where this team is headed, and I like their chances basically against any team below them. I think any team below them will be a competitive playoff series. I don't know that I would pick them to win every opponent in a playoff series below them, but certainly there's some matchups out there that I do like them in.
Yeah, I mean, the hot take machine is going to be that the Kings are the target and that they're the easy ones. They're the guys that you want to play. But
why does anyone have a problem with that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to be honest, like, it's true. Like, they have no experience.
Yeah.
So
it's true. This man has.
Yeah. No penis. No. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So that's where we're totally at. In my book, like, I think that either way, you're looking at either crazy length or crazy experience. Those are the 2 things that you're going to be up against. So if you want to play a younger team that really doesn't have a ton of playoff experience or a ton of playoff success, then Minnesota is that team, but they're really freaking long. The Pelicans, I'd put in the same exact area. They're, long, athletic. They can beat you in a variety of ways, but again, they don't have that much playoff experience. And then you got teams like the Clippers and the Warriors that are kind of hanging on, and this could be like a last hurrah for both of those teams. And there's no guarantee that their stars will be able to make it through the playoffs. We won't know if like Paul George is even going to play in a first round. So these are the kind of things that you're starting to look at. Like, what would you prefer? And I don't know, Sean, if is there a team that you circle and go, okay, I would prefer that team, whether it's the Clippers, the Warriors, the Pelicans, the T-Wolves, because I don't think the Lakers can catch up, and I don't think the Suns will fall.
Yeah, I mean Dallas, but they're not even in the picture at the moment. They're still a game out of the play-in tournament. So
Yeah.
the Clippers are so Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know what you're getting one night to the next. But I do kind of like the Kings in a playoff series there. Warriors, if they don't have Andrew Wiggins, and again, Wiggins has been out for over a month, personal reasons, I don't think people really at this point know whether they can expect him back. And James, let's play a game. Let's say he comes back. He's missed over a month. I mean, no basketball activity. Even if he's working out on his own and trying to stay ready, like you're just going to be able to just fit him back in. Fortunately, the Warriors have Gary Payton Jr. back, or the second, I should say, and he's playing decently well since his return from the abdominal. That was a tough loss that they had to the Timberwolves that night, but just all across there's question marks all across them. I mean, what Lakers team shows up? That's a team that if I'm the Kings, I probably wouldn't want to see. The Pelicans, Zion Williamson's supposed to ramp things up. We've heard that forever. I don't believe it at this point. And even if you're throwing him out there, the way the Kings run, if he's truly got an ankle, a foot, hamstring, whatever it is, and the Kings are, they can show an ability to. I've talked to people; they want to even play faster than what they've shown to be in this season. So, especially in a playoff series where you can just run a team down and use that as a huge weapon in your arsenal, your speed is going to be everything. So if I'm the Pelicans, I'm probably not wanting to see the Kings, but vice versa. If you're the Kings, sure, let's see what that looks like. The Thunder, I don't know that they're going to be up in that. I don't know that they can escape, but they've been a gritty team and been able to surprise a lot of people. But I think if the Kings and the Thunder were able to meet up in some form or fashion, can you imagine what that would look like? It might be a fun playoff series to watch. I just don't know that anyone's going to tune in to watch it across the league because it's just not the sexy matchup. So, and I'm well documented what I think about the Timberwolves, man. I don't want to see them at all if I'm the Kings. So, yeah, if you had to pick one, maybe the Clippers and the Mavericks. It's just the Mavericks aren't even in the picture right now, so I guess the Clippers went out.
Yeah, the Clippers. I wouldn't mind the Clippers. Again, you bring up the Mavs, of course. I think I'm on board with that. Luka's tough because he can beat you by himself. And they have Kyrie who can beat you in a bunch of different ways too, but they just have not been able to put it together at all. And again, they're down at this point. They're down 3 games to the Warriors with like 5 or 6 remaining. That would be nearly impossible, especially to jump all those teams. Thunder are down 2. That's a possibility, but not really. Lakers, they're I'll say the Lakers are only down 1 in the loss column, and that's a crazy thing. We got the Pelicans, the T-Wolves, and the Lakers are all just a single game behind the Warriors in the loss column, and that still matters because, I don't know how many games are left for most of these teams, but, well, I can tell you the T-Wolves is 5, the Pelicans is 5, the Warriors it's 5. So, yeah, it really is like a sprint. Even the Clippers are down to 5 games. If I were to choose a team, in all honesty, I don't even think I would fear. I mean, I don't know if you fear or not, but like even the Warriors, sure, they're a great dynasty, but at this point they seem like they might be on their last legs of that dynasty and they don't have the depth. And, Gary Payton is back, but he really hasn't been able to ramp up and get integrated back into the system yet. It's only a couple of games. I start to wonder, can they turn it on? Do they still have that in them? And it's kind of surprising that they haven't to this point. It would make our travel our budget go a lot further if they were playing the Warriors. I would actually kind of prefer the Warriors or the Clippers for that point of view, and then the Pelicans and the Timberwolves would be like kind of on the low on the list of who I would want to face, just because that's going to be a lot of airfare travel. I love New Orleans, but I don't think I want to go to Minnesota, even if it is April.
Yeah, it could be. The travel is certainly a part of the playoffs, and got to be. It's to be expected, but
Yeah.
it is funny the way the West is. It's like now Memphis is really like an Eastern Conference team, and you go to Minnesota and you go to New Orleans and they're Middle America, but Memphis is so far east. If you ever end up having to play them, that's a tough one. I remember the Western Conference Finals last year with the Warriors, or not the Western Conference Finals, but the playoffs with the Warriors last year before they advanced to the Western Conference Finals, and that travel was tough. And actually, Draymond Green has said as much in his podcast.
I would love to see the Warriors and Grizzlies face in the first round. So
That'd be
I don't
fun.
know. Yeah, that just seems to
I'd
be.
sign up for that.
Yeah, and that's still possible. A 2-7 matchup still possible. Let's get to the game the other night. So again, the Kings clinch. It's a huge deal in Sacramento. Like lots of emotion, lots of craziness. But it wasn't a very good basketball game. I think it's one of those games where you just look at a team that is ready to like move on to the next step, and another team that's ready to get on to the off season. And so that's kind of what it looked like. It looked like one team was trying, one team wasn't, which is what we saw in the second half. But we have some takeaways. Number one, we'll start with Keegan. Keegan hits 3 threes, goes up to 188 3-pointers in his rookie season, which is now the gold standard in the NBA. He surpassed Donovan Mitchell's rookie record of 187. He's been so, there are games where he's bad or he disappears, or it's like 2 or 3 games stints where he struggles. But for the most part, he's been so steady all season long. And while it's not flashy and it's not over the top and it's not crazy, I think that steadiness is something that really does help this team. His ability to stay even kill, his ability to hit big shots in big moments. Just what does this record, do you think it means to this season, which is going to be filled with awards and things for the Sacramento Kings?
Yeah, I think it's a good accomplishment for him, and I would love him to kind of celebrate it a little bit. I don't think there's a moment he went in the locker room and went crazy with his teammates. I don't think there was a proverbial grab crotch moment. He just, like you said, he's so steady, he's so even keeled that, oh, whatever, it's just something I've done. Move on. Let's go win the game. And that's what I think a lot of us love about his personality, because you try to bring it out, but he's just him at the end of the day, and him hitting that record, he's able to shoot a lot of threes. That's the kind of the role he plays on this team. Kudos to him, man, especially with so many games remaining. And I feel like, James, you go and you look at all these records and you wonder, gosh, how long can this record last? I don't think it's going to last long. And that's no disrespect to Keegan or just the record. It's just the way the league is going with the amount of threes. I mean, we were coming into the season when they were saying they wanted to, the Kings wanted circling 40 threes per game. Someone's getting a lot of threes up. So, and Keegan Murray has been one of those guys. And fortunately for him, he's been very, very consistent. And yeah, it was fun to watch him hit that shot. And yeah, he's got such a bright future, man. And he fits in this team so well. And when you're playing with a guy like Domas who finds everybody, you're going to get a lot of opportunity.
It makes life easy for everyone. Here's a crazy stat. So he's 188 for 462. And the 462 is roughly like 90 less 3-pointers than it took Donovan Mitchell to get that record. So I think Donovan shot like 34%. Keegan's at 40.7. Check this stat out, though. 188 made 3-pointers. 130 made 2-pointers.
Yeah.
He's taken 251 twos and 462 threes.
My guy likes the three. He likes the three.
Well, I think he plays his role. right?
He does.
I think that's the biggest thing that we've learned with him, that even in certain moments where you're waiting for him to take over and do more, he pulls back and says, okay, this isn't my role yet. But I do feel like there's a whole lot more there that he just doesn't want to step out of line in his rookie season. Do you still feel that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he doesn't quite, and I think, I'll take it a step further. I think Davion Mitchell is also kind of still experiencing that in finding his voice, finding a way. I mean, he's part of this leadership committee that has been pretty well covered. I think Zach Lowe did a nice job in kind of outlining that, but at least what the leadership committee does. But even for guys like you and I who knew he was a part of this, I think something like Davion still tries to find his way even on the basketball court and has to be more impactful in the smaller amount of minutes that he gets. Keegan, I feel like, plays a completely different role, obviously, and he's still just kind of feeling it through. Like, I don't think he's going to have a takeover mode. He's going to certainly do what's best for the team. He kind of falls into place. And, James, I don't know if you got to see the the Bleacher Report. They used to have Game of Zones, and now they have another cartoon version, and the Kings were prominently featured today with the beam and everything like that, and kind of a silly storyline with Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield trying to come back to thwart the beam. But in that moment, he's surrounded by, you got Tyrese Halliburton, and he's surrounded by Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes in these vehicles, and they're shooting pistol offense guns at him, and he says, "Oh, damn corner threes." It's like, no, when you're corner three and you can shoot the ball in this league, corner three is where you thrive. And we want to see him put the ball on the deck and attack and maybe go ISO and show off that part of his game a little bit more frequently. But steady as the wins the race right now for him, and he's had a fantastic rookie season. I expect him fully to be able to be on the all-rookie first or second team, and and take it from there.
As we've been on the pod, we do have a Matthew Dellavedova medical update. The Sacramento Kings announced today that Matthew Dellavedova sustained a right index finger fracture during the fourth quarter of Wednesday's game versus Portland Trailblazers. Treatment options are being considered. At this time, there's no timetable for Dellavedova's return. That's a bummer. Delly hasn't played a ton, but there is, there's something about him that I think has really stuck out this season. He really does matter to this team, and I'm clearly there's not enough time for them to go out and sign someone else, but do you expect them to do anything with that?
It's interesting. I'll say, just last night, for example, there's a small kind of correlation to be drawn here, even though the playoff scenarios are completely different. Because in the G League, in the first, second rounds, you have one and done. It's like college basketball, survive and advance. And the Stockton Kings went in there. Hosting a home court advantage, hosting a very red-hot Skyforce team from Sioux Falls who'd won 6 straight coming into that game, and the Kings got upset. Their Stockton Kings season is done. They lost 98-97, and I remember talking to both the Kings two-way players after the game, and Keon Ellis and Neemias Queta, and they both kind of gave me different answers, because I was like, well, do you get a day or two to kind of let this wash over you, kind of cleanse, and then, okay, let's go join the big club. And even though both of them I still think are ruled out for tonight, I haven't looked at the most...
Last time I looked, yes, they were ruled out.
But Nimi said, I think I got to catch a flight tomorrow, head up and join the team in Portland, while Keon was like, I think I'll be staying here and wait for the team to get back and see them on Saturday when they're back in town. So different type of answers, but, there's some players on that team that could probably fit in. I mean, Trey Burke is one of them. Now again, you just at this point, especially if you go into the playoffs, you're not really talking about a guy who's going to play. I mean, with respect to Matthew Dellavedova, if you had to pick a guy that this was going to happen to, he'd have been the guy you picked, because he's only really playing when De'Aaron Fox is out and you're just trying to close out the season and spread some minutes and get guys some rest. So I'd say it might be certainly feasible, but what is it? What's it really? Anyone who, even if they do make a move, I don't think you're going to look at this and go, "Oh, we're going to expect them to play." No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a situation where the Kings, like if Dellavedova is out, like if they know he's going to need surgery and he's out for the next like 6 to 8 weeks, that they could make a move there and basically waive him and bring in Trey Burke just to have a backup on the roster. Hey, look at that. We even have Shams tweeting about the Sacramento Kings, that
Home court advantage.
their NBA championship odds are now 55 to 1. 55 to 1 from 430 in preseason, 430 to 1. That doesn't matter at all.
No.
But it's interesting that people
Neat
are
little
now
graphic
tweeting.
though.
Yeah, what did I call Logan the other day? Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a cute
I,
little graphic.
I just remembered. And this wasn't meant as shade at Logan because I love Logan and he started in Sacramento. But bandwagon media members, we got them, Sean. We got bandwagon
They're all over
media
the
members.
place.
We got
Yeah.
them. They're hopping on left and right. Local media,
And that's
it's like,
okay. That's
even local
supposed to
media,
happen.
you're like, hey, look at all this local media. We're like, who are you people? Wow, where have you been the last decade?
Yeah, but that's to be expected. You look around,
I
and
guess, yeah.
when you become Uber relevant again, you get Uber media coverage, and here's your Uber.
Here we are. Your Uber is waiting.
Yeah.
What do you make of the? This got to be the strangest thing of the season. The Alex Len appearance. All of a sudden now Alex Len is part of the rotation. He played 15 minutes and 31 seconds against the Trailblazers yesterday. Well, let's see, day before yesterday, on Wednesday. 5 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, a block. Alex Len, is he your new backup center?
Center? No, probably not. But this is what sometimes rotations and lineups can bring when you're this close to the playoffs, and you're just you're just playing out the rest of these hands to see how this plays out, where you fall, where you end up positioning wise, and the interesting thing is I don't recall it really taking away minutes from Domas. I still think he got right about what he averaged, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to go back and check, but I think that was the moment for me, James, like I said in the last podcast, where it's like, if I'm Mike Brown, I'm looking at my bench and I'm saying, you made me play Alex Len because I don't have faith in any of you guys. You guys pissed me off. I have to go to Alex Len. Damn you for making me do that. And
He played 26 minutes and 30 seconds. Sabonis did.
Yikes.
But it was just...
So that's under 30. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a blowout, but I was surprised. I was not surprised to see Alex Len against Portland on Wednesday. I was surprised to see Alex Len on Monday against the Timberwolves. And then did you see Naz Reid broke his wrist?
I did. That's tough.
Yeah, that's a big time loss for them, especially.
Huge.
Again, do you like playing them maybe a little bit more without Naz Reid?
Yeah, and especially, we were talking about it, like, Naz Reid plays a bigger role when Karl Anthony Towns doesn't. Now Cat's back, but it's almost like, God, they play better when they don't have Cat on the floor. But I say that realizing that Cat hit that dramatic 3 to beat the Warriors and carry that game into Sacramento, where you had the chance to close out on your home court and didn't. So I don't know. Maybe that's I feel like that back to back could be a seminal moment for the Timberwolves in their season, and if they're going to propel forward, and that might be something they look back on and say that's where everything changed for them. But make no mistake, you're losing a guy like Naz Reid, who's played such an important role for them. That's a tough one to have to fill, but you get someone like Karl Anthony Towns back, even though he's a non-factor defensively. You hope to be able to find a guy that can plug in and fill what he did defensively in Naz Reid, but do obviously a lot more on the offensive end with Cat.
Yeah. I think it does make them slightly easier to play. He's just a bad matchup for the Kings. The Kings don't have that type of player. And if they do, it's the same thing that I always say about Brandon Clark. He's like a version of Brandon Clark. He's a better three-point shooter, maybe not as good a rebounder, but long, athletic, physical, like strong, new age power forward. And I think he's really I think he's really important for them, especially against a team like the Kings. I wanted to see Chimezie Metu match up against him and just to see what you had there, because I think Chimezie's probably a decent matchup there, especially physically. I think he can hold his own. But again, when we get to the playoffs, Sean, do you expect Mike Brown to go deeper than maybe Trey Lyles?
I want to say no, but it's when you get into that second and third game of a 7-game series, depending upon how things are looking, where you might have to. I think more times than not he's going to keep it pretty tight, but there might be that in-game adjustment that he makes where he does have to go. So I think you'll see it at some point. I don't think it's a game by game. I don't think you're going to see, like, for example, if he goes somebody like Trey, like a Chimezie Metu, maybe. If he goes to somebody like Metu, Rashawn Holmes, Alex Len, Kessler Edwards, that might be a game, maybe a one-off where you saw that in game 2, but you didn't see it in game 3. Maybe you see it in game 4, you don't see it in game 5. So it's all matchups and it's all adjustments, and that's where coaching really gets fun. People love the playoffs for the right reasons, and this is every reason why. And again, I always talk about who's going to be that person who steps up and has that moment that you're not expecting. You know what you're going to expect from your core 4 players, your core 5 players, but who's that person that's going to excel in a way that's above and beyond what they've done in any part of the season, or play a factor in such a dramatic way that just doesn't happen during the regular season. So, yeah, I can't wait, because I feel like I know who that could be, but I have no idea at the end of the day who that might be.
Yeah, I think it does depend on the matchup. Like, again, if you're going up against, I think it totally depends. Like, if you're going up against Anthony Edwards, then we're going to see Kessler Edwards, I believe. If you're going up against, well, I mean, maybe if Paul George is back and Kawhi Leonard is there, maybe you see Kessler there in a situation. So maybe Mike Brown does go 9 deep, but I also think that there's a good chance that he settles in at 8. And then if you get a Terrence Davis sighting, it would be because things have gone horribly wrong and you need some sort of spark that you're not getting. No, and that's not a knock on Terrence.
Or you're on national TV where he plays so well.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like, if you're 2 games into the playoff series and Malik Monk is still struggling, you might choose a guy like Terrence Davis to break up some of the minutes for Monk and say, look, man, we need you to come around. But in the meantime, we're going to let Terrence go out there and see if he hits his first shot. If he hits his first shot, he could steal your minutes. And so I think that those are things we're going to see. But I also believe we're going to see a lot of Fox, a lot of Sabonis. But
yeah.
I don't know. If you're Mike Brown, I'll ask this question. Early in the playoffs, if you're winning, do you temper your minutes with these guys, knowing that, Sabonis, Fox, like a lot of these guys, even like we talk about Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes hasn't been in the playoffs in 7 years. And he's played in all 76 games. So do you start to like pull back even in the first round and maybe use a deeper bench at that moment? And if you feel like you got to tighten it, you can. But if you make it through the first round, then you start to get tighter and tighter with your bench.
Yeah, I think so. I think Mike Brown shows that he knows where his bread is buttered, and he's going to ride the hell out of those guys that bring him to the dance. So expect bulk minutes for these guys, and that's I was expecting a game like tonight in Portland as we record this on Friday before the game. I expected this to be a game where he is going to find time to rest players. Obviously, it doesn't look like he's going to do that tonight in its entirety, where a guy sits. As it's what we're coming up on the 2:30 report, but I don't think that'll be the case. But certainly, I think he's got to make sure he's not playing certain guys over 25 minutes in a game that's rather meaningless. I mean, I don't want to call it meaningless because we understand you want to play well going into the playoffs, and you don't want to take guys out of their rhythm, and we get all that. But you got to kind of protect guys from themselves a little bit, and make no mistake. And it's so funny, I bring up the G League again. The way the NBA playoffs is set, you're going to have almost a week off since you're not going to have to play in the play-in tournament. You're going to let that play out. That'll be about a 3 to 4 day stretch before you start playing on that Saturday. So the season will end on, when is it, James? I don't have it in front of me. The 15th, something like that. It's always tax day
It's usually the 15th, but I think it's earlier this year. I think I want to say it's the 11th. I've got it right here.
You're talking.
It's actually the 9th. The 9th.
Yeah, so you're going to have about a week off almost. I mean, not quite a week off, but it'll feel like a week off. You'll have a lot of practices. You guys will be resting, the rehab, all that stuff. But I'm comparing that to what I just saw in the G League, which isn't really all that fair, but there is a comparison because the Skyforce had to play their way into the playoffs. The Kings, who were the number 1 seed for the first time ever, Stockton Kings I'm talking about, in the G League playoffs, had a tremendous season. And they had to watch how that played out. They didn't play for a few days. You get the Skyforce, who's just on a little bit of a roll, and they came in and made the adjustments, and they stole that game, and now your season's over. So, again, that's a one-off playoff series, so it's not a direct comparison. But knowing that you're already going to have those days off is crucial for getting guys rest and being ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'll also point out too, I think there is an advantage to being the number 3 seed over the number 2 seed. So sure, the second round, if Memphis wins the first round, then they of course will have home court advantage over you. If they lose the first round, then you somehow win. If you're the Kings, you have home court advantage in the second round as well. But the advantage that I see is that as soon as the season's over, and maybe a game or two before that, the Kings will know who they're playing. They can start to game plan. They can start to strategize. They can start to, work out their travel schedule and map everything out. And that the 2 seed does not get that advantage because they have to wait until the first play-in game is over to see who the 7 seed is and who they're going to have to play. And even, Denver at the number 1 seed, they're going to have to wait for all of the play-in games to kind of figure themselves out. And sure, they'll be waiting at home and kind of have some options, but the Kings will be like 3 days into practice working on their game plan for that 6 seed. And I think that that's an actual advantage going into the playoffs, even if you are getting a team that, might be a little bit more fresh than, a team that had to do the 8-9 or the 9-10 and the 7-8 game, and then whoever wins that, and, the follow-up game.
Yeah, definitely. And you think about that. I mean, you just said it from a Kings perspective, but let's pretend you're the Warriors. Yeah. Like, you don't want any part of the play-in tournament, really. I mean,
no.
Get guys back, get guys some rest, get some health, about them, and have only a whole week or whatever it is to worry about just the Kings or whoever might be in that spot that they're playing. I mean, that would be night and day advantage for even a team that low at the 6th seed.
Yeah, and think of the Clippers and the Paul George situation. You might not have Paul George for the play-in. You might have him for the first round. You might not. But you certainly, the play-in might be pushing it. And so what happens in the play-in? Do you get knocked out of the play-in because you don't have, one of your best players for that 1 game, 2 game stretch? So, yeah, interesting stuff. I have no idea what exactly is going to happen there. It's all bunched up. I just keep looking at the numbers and I'm like, okay, again, a 35, a 36, a 37 loss team, 3 38 loss teams, and 139. All of them just all bunched up. Is it surprising? Are any of those teams surprising to you? I mean, OKC is clearly the one that you're like, holy cow, I can't believe that they're going to make it, or potentially going to make it. They only have a 1-game lead over the Mavs, but they're only a half game behind the Lakers as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that just continues to boggle my mind is Pelicans, just because how I think a lot of people expected them to be much, much, much better than they've shown to be. I'd put OKC there because that is a surprise. Utah, who, remember how strong they were to start the season. I think everyone realized that was kind of, hot start, fool's gold. You're not that good. You clearly have an all-star in Markkanen. He was rewarded for that. But obviously they've tumbled down quite a bit, and even shipping Mike. Plug, though. They did. Oh, they did. And shipping Mike Conley to Minnesota definitely helped the Timberwolves and kind of signified another moment of them trying to sell off parts again. So to see them tumble, but even still, James, I mean, you're talking 2.5 games out of a play-in scenario. They just won last night, or I think it was last night. But also, like, it's just funny. Like, there's a lot of scoreboard watching that's going to be going on, and there's some absolutely fascinating matchups every single night. Look at, for one, Clippers Grizzlies tonight. I'm looking forward to, but more than that, Lakers Timberwolves will be a very, very exciting game because I want to see how the Timberwolves bounce back after losing Naz Reid. Does this change roles on the team? The Lakers are desperate for a win, and I think I got to go back and look at the standings there, but I think that's an important one in terms of conference as well. And then you've got Nuggets Suns. You got KD back. I believe he is playing. I haven't looked at the injury report, but yeah, Nuggets Suns should be a really interesting one tonight as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's the best part about this time of year. I mean, even like the Kings' final 2 games, you got the Warriors and you got the Nuggets. Like, and you can choose your path with that Warriors team. If you're looking at the Warriors and you're like, I don't think I want to play them, and you can control how that is, how they are in the standings, or if you go, yeah, like, that's okay. Like, I don't mind playing the Warriors. Like, if the Kings want to go for it and okay. Like, you can kind of set yourself up a little bit. Even the last game of the season, clearly the Nuggets are pulling away. I don't think that they're going to be a team that looks at you and says, okay, like, we're going to play all of our guys. I think that's going to be a lot of bench players playing against bench players. But it's still like, it could have implications on not only the Kings, but the teams around them and who you could play in the first round. Like, if I want to play team X and I know that a win against the Nuggets on the last game of the season, I'm going to run my guys out there. I'm going to go for the win. So I don't know. It's kind of intriguing how this thing is going to play out.
It is. And I just want to add one thing too. Like, fast forward a week from now. I mean, we got the Kings and the Warriors. I'm sure there's a game out there that I'm just not thinking of that might have been more meaningful, but this is going to be in the conversation for most meaningful Kings and Warriors game ever played, right?
Or it could just be nothing.
It could be if
they've already clinched all of where they're going to be,
but potentially it could be a really. I mean, and here's the thing: like, obviously, it's going to mean more for the Warriors than it is for the Kings. But I mean, in a weird way too. Like, I think you want the head-to-head matchup. I think also. You want that to be kind of if you are slated or trending that you're going to be playing them in the playoffs, I think you kind of want your first shot at it. This is like a exhibition game, so to speak, and you can go out and try different things. And I think it'll be a good kind of table setter for what's to come, if you will.
Yeah, no, I get you. I think it would be an intriguing battle. Like, how do you go into it? And are you still pushing for 50? Like, again, the Kings will get their 47th win tonight. Like, if they don't, I would be absolutely stunned. I fully expect the same thing on Sunday when they play San Antonio. That would put them at 48 wins with 4 games remaining. The Kings haven't lost 4 games in a row all season outside of the first week of the season. And I don't think that they'll lose. Again, I think they still have a goal of 50. I think Harrison Barnes told us they have a goal of 50. And that's kind of the mark of a really good team in the NBA. And I think that they've got that circled and said, okay, we're going to go for it. So whether that win comes, those other wins come against Dallas or the Pelicans, or the Warriors or Denver on the last game of the season, I still think that they're going to try to get those last 2 wins. Even if it's splitting the last 2. And, I don't expect them to push for 51 or 52. I don't think that they are saying, hey, let's win out and like prove everybody that we're ready. Although they already have the best, they're tied for the Bucks with the best record after the All-Star break. So, who knows? Maybe they do want to walk in and show that they belong. Sean, let's get to the business of basketball.
Cool.
This has been like a horrible stretch. Like 16 years is brutal, and you've been around for almost all of that. I've covered the last 12 coming in. Yeah. So, what is it? What's maybe your least favorite moment through this whole stretch? Maybe, and we'll do your best moment, your worst moment.
The worst moments easily just and maybe this shouldn't count because maybe you meant it in a different way, but is almost losing your team. Having
Yeah.
having really two funerals on Arco Arena where people are crying because they don't know what the future holds for their basketball team. One felt a little bit better than the other, but one certainly felt like a funeral. And even if you had optimism, there was no overlooking the fact that was a dreary day, and you could have felt confident that your team was still going to stay and something was going to magically pop through, and people were going to hear Kevin Johnson out and the city and being able to get everything together, but there was just no guarantee. So yeah, man, I think that sticks out first and foremost because without the team, you don't have any of this. The good, the bad, the ugly, the fun. My first year, and look, I'm like a lot of people who tend to cover this team, where maybe more so, like I grew up in Sacramento. I grew up a Kings fan. I know what it's like to root for your team, but putting on the media hat, so to speak, and coming over, things become a lot different when you're around it so long. My first year as a credentialed media member was 2001. My first full season was the 02-03 season, and I got a taste of the 01-02 second half of that season. I was credentialed all the time. So covering it for what was then Sports 1140 KHTK, which has become Sacktown Sports now, you see still a lot of people who are around the team that even like, you think of Gary Gerald, who's been here since the very, very beginning. He doesn't cover the team. He's employed by the team. He is the radio voice. He goes everywhere. He's been here since the team moved to the Sacramento. So I think of people like him because the highest mountain that this team has been to has been the Western Conference Finals, and we all know how that turned out. And that is still a scab that won't heal that people pick at all the time. People like Jason Ross, who has been here for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, like 26 years, something.
Like I think even longer, because before KHDK there was KSAC, and he went to UC Davis, and Scott Marsh, guys that came from that little student radio station at UC Davis, and then I joined forces. I was in high school, man. Like, people don't realize I was like an illegal intern coming in. They opened the door for me so I can come in and like learn, working with a golf radio show. So I think of moments like that because you see a lot of familiar faces that work with the organization, but then you see a lot of people who, they're concession stand workers, they're ushers, they're security members. And the cool thing, I mean, you saw it in the 6-man celebration the other night, James, and they do it every season, but if fans haven't had the moment, they like to recognize people who've been with the organization for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And there's always, about 10 of them that they'll honor for these different milestones. These people who work within the organization, the arena workers, things like that, you don't see there's turnover, sure, just like any business, but there's a lot of faces that you see who've been there for such a long time. So it is a community, it is a family in that regard. You're seeing the same people day in, day out. Those are the type of people you really kind of feel for. And it's so rare to see a person who stays within the organization that long regardless. But it's even more rare to do it on the basketball ops side. And I sent out a tweet the other day when, after they clinched, I was like, the first two people I think of, and I know Mike Brown, I was able to get that video out there, showing that video of him talking about Miguel Lopez, the equipment manager, who basically was in the hall sobbing because of the success of the team, because it had been that long. And he's seen countless players come and go, countless coaches come and go, countless front office people come and go, media relations people come and go, security people come and go. There's just it can be a revolving door. He's stayed there. Him and Melanie Stocking, who works with the logistical side of the basketball ops department, the travel, always booking travel, always making sure tickets are good, always making sure, players' families are good, all that stuff. There's not that many people in the ops department that have been there that long, and those are two of the faces of the people that have. I mean, this is going back to the Chris Webber days, And
yeah.
it's fun for me because I can say that. Like, James, I know you've covered the team a long time. I don't want to date either one of us, but me showing that I've been here since doing this since 2001, when I was I'm right out of high school basically doing this. And the fact that KHTK even had a credential, and I was like, no, I have aspirations of being a sports reporter and I want to do this. So like, oh, we got a credential available. Are you kidding? And then it becomes a job. And, Chris Webber may have played a little small role in that, but getting in doing that. And it's like, I've seen these people, I've seen them come and go. And it's like the ones that still kind of remain and you get to see them. It's great. Now you look at the fans, those fans, they don't change. You might see a few all of a sudden donning Warrior gear. I've actually witnessed it myself, where you see some of the bandwagon fans who will tend to go off, and it's like, wait, I remember this guy. I have seen that, but the only thing that changes primarily with Kings fans is they just get older, and then they get younger because they end up having new Kings fans. You yourself as a father, you've got two Kings fans that live with you, so that is fun. And I try not to make it, be self-indulgent and make it about us, because it's not about us. It's about them. It's about this community. It's about the city. It's about this organization and what it means to the city as a one-horse town. I know with respect to the Sacramento River Cats and the Sacramento Republic, this is your professional sports team. And it's the biggest beacon of civic pride that you have. And it's fun to see them kind of relevant again. So, yeah, it took far too long. I think brighter days are ahead, but it's just fun to see things, whether the good, the bad, some of the cringy, the good, the bad, and the cringy. That should be the title of the book for this season, because you're getting rid of the bad, you're going back to the good, but there's a lot of cringe along the way. So I just celebrate it all, let people have their fun, and it's going to be a fun ride. I don't care if this team gets swept in the first round. Guess what, guys? This is still a fabulous season of Kings basketball. It really is.
I agree with everything you said there, completely. And I'll tell you, like, the darkest day, I wouldn't have put it. I didn't think about that as the relocations being the darkest day was the Dana Falk tweet. That was the darkest day, because you had gone through the first one and you thought that they were on the right path, and then the Maloofs just hamstrung you. And when it was like that much money and going back to Seattle and all that stuff, I think that was probably the darkest day, because that one hit. The first one, if you followed the money, the NBA was never going to let Henry Samueli in the league, and like there was no way for the Maloofs to retain ownership of the team, and the league wasn't going to like bring him into an old building in LA and try to figure something out. Now, could it have happened? Sure, but it wasn't going to happen. And so I was like, even the last night, I was still pretty confident that it wasn't going to go that way. And I'm one of the few people who felt that way, but I was like, you follow the money, it's going to be really tough to do. That second one, and then when, Chris Hansen's kept bumping up the price valuation, and they were feeding stuff to Seattle the whole time. Like, that was brutal and bitter to watch. And people kept saying, like, well, what are you going to do if they leave? And it was like, not cover basketball. Like, you got to play it out until the end. You got to sit there and like be part of the whole entire situation until it's over. And then once it's over, we'll figure out what happens later, but we don't have time for that now. I mean, we were working so hard trying to cover city council meetings and trips all over the place. And like, it was just crazy. So you're right. That's probably the darkest, like during the time that I've covered. I don't know what the best moment is, outside of some game winners and some stuff like that. But it's probably going to be this year. It's going to be,
I'm laughing because like if we didn't take it the dramatic role, right? To put the relocation saga aside, the darkest day might have been that dude puking on the court in front of Vivek Ranadive, just right across. Like seriously, and it happened just last year. I mean, think of where the fan base is at. Think of what that represents. And I'm not trying to be juvenile about it. It meant a lot more than just a drunk dude on the court puking his guts out. Like it was bad. It was so bad.
And Luke got fired that night.
Yeah, they blamed Luke. No, I'm kidding. No, someone had to go. Yeah. I mean, you can't just have that happen. Someone has to go. No, man, and it's like I say, things can change very quickly in the NBA. Kings fans wouldn't know that because, again, you're talking 17 years, 16 seasons of bad basketball. But things can and do happen very, very quickly in the NBA. Usually it
And
just happens for for better teams.
Sean, I'm going to say this too. But like I'll kind of end my thoughts on this. I kind of hope like this 17, it's 16 seasons, 17 years, whatever, 16 years. I kind of hope that the Kings hold this record forever. And people could
Yeah.
look at me like, what do you mean? No fan base should ever have to go through this. They shouldn't. They shouldn't have to go through 16 years of ineptitude, 16 years of failure, 16 years of botched first round picks and fired coaches and fired general managers and changing of front offices. No fan base should have to go through this because if it were a lesser franchise, it probably would have broke them. If it were a lesser fan base, that's what I mean. If it were a lesser fan base, it probably would have broke the fan base and you would have never been able to recover that fan base. But the fact that this fan base has not only survived this crap 16-year stretch, but two full relocations, ownership changes, all of the stuff that you've endured, and somehow you're making it out the other side. It's stunning, and I'm really excited to see how the fans react to the playoffs and how they capture this moment themselves. Like each fan is gonna be different, Like
Yeah.
my son wants to go to the playoffs so bad. Again, we've talked about this. He was born. I was in the hospital with my wife, with the baby, the day Chris Webber blew out his knee, May 8th, 2003. That's the day my son was born. He's never got to see a true playoff game. If he did, it was as a baby, like a really, really small baby. He got to see playoffs, but he's been part of my journey this whole time. And like he's my sidekick along the way, never got to see any of it. And so I'm excited for that. My youngest, he'll be 15, he'll be 16 in August. The Kings have never made the playoffs during his life. He was born in 2007. So it's really crazy. So I'm excited to see how people react, how fans react, how, this becomes like something that they can kind of figure out and enjoy and embrace. So anyway, yeah. All right. Do you
Well
have any
said.
you have any final thoughts?
Nah. It's just the only final thought. Again, I hope Brendan gets better. I hope my allergies wait. I think by next one I'll be strong like bull. And yeah, I don't like the fact that the Stockton Kings went out like that. But yeah, hey G League, maybe make the. I know no one really cares about the G League, but your playoffs can't come down to a one and done, one game
Best
and
of
done.
three
That's silly.
series. Come on now. Even if you don't have
Yeah.
them travel, like that to me, that was weird. So
It's just
yeah.
weird. But yeah, because you see, there's a lot of games during the season where, and again, that's not sour grapes. I mean, that could have been Sioux Falls losing that. Even if they were the number one seed and Stockton came in and won and advanced, I mean, certainly they would have taken it. But you would have felt like, man, it's unfulfilled. It just doesn't. You put all this effort into what a season looks like for the G League, and you've got teams that are oftentimes what we started to see in the NBA, where you have these 2-game series. So, if they come in and they spend a couple days, let's say the home team gets the home court, then yeah, play both those games, whatever, best of 3 series. I think that's as opposed to like the play in the first round, whatever, because those are. But if you're in the first seed, if you're the number one seed and you've advanced, and you get that first round bye, that probably shouldn't come down to a one and done.
Yeah, I hate it in baseball too. The fact that you play 162 games and then you can get bounced on the last game of the last day of the season. I hate the play in baseball too. I just hate it. So, all right. Final thoughts from me. I don't really have any final thoughts. It's bright and sunny outside. It's not snowing like it was on Tuesday when we had the pod. Sorry, we're doing this on Friday. It's one of those things. We had scheduling issues yesterday and weren't able to get a pod done on, sort of celebration day. But we'll keep
I make
rolling
no
on with
apology.
yeah. And
I
of course,
make
Brendan,
no apology.
Brendan is out of commission, so we'll figure it out. We'll be back next week. So if you're still watching here on YouTube, give us a thumbs up if you don't mind. If you're listening somewhere else, give us a rating and review. All of those things help us. Also, jump on board with the Kings Beat. I'll be putting new shirts up.
Oh yeah.
I made just long sleeve of the white sweatshirt, which are cool and they're Russell and they're nice and I dig them. So I'll put those up on the website probably tomorrow, and you can purchase long sleeve, but they're nice, nice shirts for your collection out there of King's Peak merch. Cool. All right. So for Fox 40's Sean Cunningham, I am James Ham, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. Thanks for tuning in to the Kings Beat podcast. We will see you next week.